Okay, in this video, we're going to take a look at the Maven standard directory layout. Now, this is actually a really important concept behind Maven. And from the early days of Java development, there wasn't a standard directory layout. It was kind of a pain in the neck because everybody would kind of do their own thing and set up their projects to however they felt like it. And over time, things kind of evolved. The Apache Maven project set a standard, and we've been using that standard without really realizing it. And I want to highlight it here because our Hello World project is following the standard directory layout of Maven. And what this gives us is a source directory. And inside a source, we're going to have main and test. So main are going to be our main files for the project, and test are going to be any test components. And then within that, we're going to have the source files. And source files are typically going to be organized by language. So here we have a Java folder, and within Java, we'd have any packages or classes. And then also we have resources. So these are going to be additional resources. So typically in a larger project, we're going to have packages under Java. And then under resources, we'd have any text files, properties files, images, templates, XML files. So any type of non-class resources that need to be included in that. And then test as well, that's going to have a resources directory. So let's say if we had Scala or Kotlin or Groovy, we'd have a main Scala, main Kotlin, main Groovy off the main folder. And then the same with test. And all this is going to be handled by Maven default, by that natively. And what's important is this is a standard directory layout. This is where Maven's going to be looking for things by default. So we're kind of following the convention here. Now, if you want to change that, yes, you can. But I'm not going to show you how because you shouldn't be. But you can change that. You can override that where the source files and the resource files locations are as far as the paths. But I do want to expand out on this some more. I'm going to toggle over to Chrome. And here is the official Maven documentation. If you just Google Maven standard directory layout, you'll come right to this page. And you can see here, I showed you the source main Java, source main resources. And then we have filters, web app. I don't see web app used that much anymore. This is where you put, if you're building up a big WAR file for your JSPs and images and whatnot, you'd put them under there. That's kind of fading into the sunset right now, so to speak. And then you have source test, Java resources filters, source IT for integration tests. And this is going to be primarily for plugins. We will be talking about testing explicitly. And then assembly descriptors site. And these are values for the site. So one of the features of Maven is that it can actually build a website for you, and we'll definitely look at that in the future. And then we have license, notice, and README. And these last three are kind of optional, not necessarily all that adhered to. But the biggest ones are going to be your source main and your source test. So remember when we're talking about dependencies and that class path, as we compile that, when we're talking about the compile class path, that is going to be looking at source main Java. When we look at the test class path, that is going to be looking at source test Java and pulling out all the resources from Java and resources, and if we have any alternative languages set up. So this is the standard directory layout. You'll see this used over and over, telling you that there was a time when this wasn't there. If you look at some of the old Ant stuff, everybody had their own, air quotes, standard to follow. You can override this if you need to. I haven't had to override it for a very long time. So it's best to, if you're looking at having to override source main Java, you might want to step back and say, why are you doing that? Because this is kind of a widely held standard. If you switch your project over to Gradle, Gradle is going to be using the same directory layout. So really nice thing to do, fairly standardized in the Java community, but important to understand. And as we get into more complex Maven stuff, we will be leveraging the standard directory layout.